Hi everybody, happy Thursday. I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps and this is Lunchtime Live episode 66. So for those of you who are new, Lunchtime Live is basically my video newsletter and I'll go through, what's new on the blog, what I'm working on, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll end with a short demo on something. Last week we did popcorn stitches, and I was talking about how a popcorn stitch was like a bobble, and I'm like, I don't think I did baubles as a demo. So this week we're doing baubles, and then next week not next week, next week's Thanksgiving. The week after that we'll actually do puff stitches. So also happy Thanksgiving if you're celebrating. Words are hard for me today. But happy Thanksgiving if you're celebrating, and let's get into Lunchtime Live. Okay, so what's new on the blog this week? Well, it's been kind of a slow week. I only have one new thing to show you, and that is the last final section of the Mosaic Sampler Blanket Mystery Knit Along. This is Mosaic Chevrons. It's back to a pretty basic pattern after some of the bigger ones because I thought that ended it really nicely with the stair step. But don't let it fool you. This one does have more rows to repeat than the stair step pattern did. So it's still a little bit challenging, but it's not quite the same as these ones. Hello, Marshall. How are you? I'm good. Hi, Beth. Good to see you. So I'm so glad you guys could join today, but this is what's new on the blog. Now, don't forget, whether you're knitting along or not, make sure to check out that knit along post and sign up for the giveaway. This is the last section, which means this is the last month, and we've only got less than 2 weeks left in the month. So the last month to get the giveaway on this one is the Lion Brand Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling Yarn, which Lion Brand is sponsoring. So go on there and be sure to enter that giveaway if you haven't already. And if you are knitting along, I absolutely want to see, I cannot wait to see everyone's finished blankets. So post your pictures, use the hashtag, tag me in it, whatever you got to do, let me see them. I can't wait to see what everyone's done. So that's the knit along. The other things that are going on right now, I've been working on a pattern for, I don't know how many of you know Moogly. Everybody should know Moogly. Hi, Mary. Moogly is the blog by Tamara Kelly, and she's actually the featured designer in this week's newsletter, so check her out if you haven't yet. She'll be in the newsletter coming up on Saturday. She does an annual crochet along of an Afghan. And what it is she gets 24 designers to submit, so it's 2 patterns a month or so. I think it's like every 2 weeks. And they submit a blanket square. The last pattern for this year is coming out next week, and guess whose pattern it is? And I'm very, very, very excited about this one. This one was a lot of fun. So I'm going to tell a little story about how the name for this one originated once it's posted. I can't tell it now, it'll ruin it. And I'm going to tell that story in, there's a bug, in Tamra's, in the Moogly Afghan Cal group. So if you're not in this group, if you're not doing this Cal, oh my God, it's a fantastic group and it's a fantastic Cal every year. So check it out and I'll tell you guys a funny story next week when I post the pattern. Okay, so that is what I'm working on. I'm also working on a guest post for Artistry, which I'm not exactly sure when that comes out. I still have to send it to them, but it should be coming out next month. And I was really excited about this project. So as soon as I'm able to share that with you, I will. And then that's really it. Honestly, it's been a little bit slow on my end this week. So with the holidays coming up, sometimes it gets that way, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about baubles today. And I'm not just going to show you how to make a basic bauble. I'm going to do what I normally do. I will show you how to make a basic one, and then I'll show you how to mess with it. Oh, I've got a puff stitch in here for some reason. Okay, so this is, I probably needed a picture of a puff stitch or something. So this is just a swatch of single crochet. And actually on this row I'm going to do double, and I'm going to put in a double crochet bobble. The most common bobble that you're going to see is going to be a 5 double crochet or sometimes a 3 double crochet bobble. So let's put one in here. And a bobble, just like the popcorn, only counts as 1 stitch. You can leave stitches around it if you put chain spaces around it, but it only counts as 1 stitch, usually, unless, you know, the pattern's treating you weird. But so it's basically what it says, right? It's 5 double crochet or 3 double crochet. Let's do 5 double crochet. The difference between a bobble and a popcorn is I'm not going to finish this double crochet. I'm going to pause halfway through this double crochet and I'm going to start another one. Okay? Then I'm going to stop halfway through this double crochet and start another one. And I'm going to do that 5 times. So I've got 3 right there, and you can count the 3 posts. 1, 2, 3. Notice that you started with a loop on your hook, so you're always going to have 1 extra loop, 1 loop in addition to the loops that you have from the double crochets you made. So this is 3, here's 4, okay, and here's 5. So now I have 5 loops from my 5 double crochets plus the one that was already on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 5 of those loops. Okay, and that is a bobble. Now some people say bobbles like to pop out more at the back, and that's somewhat true, but I find you can pop them either way if your fabric's tight enough. But most times bobbles will be done on the wrong side row because they like to pop out towards the back. You also can look at what the bottom looks like. This is if it pops out to the front, and this is if it pops out to the back. So most people do it so it pops out to the back. Now the other thing that people do differently, some people count this loop, okay, this one that was on your hook already before you started the bobble. They count that as the top of the bobble. So they would just continue on working their row, and when you work back into the bobble, you work into that loop. So let's see what that looks like. So now when I come back to work into this row, here's that stitch, and then here is the top of the bobble. Okay, and that actually I find makes the bobble seem like it leans a little bit, and it feels like the stitch is going on the side of the bobble, right? Like I'm not real thrilled with the look of that. So what I do, and what like half the people do, is it's literally like half and half. Some people like it that way, and other people like to finish their bobble with a chain. Okay, or yeah, a chain. Now they'll count this, what should be the top of the bobble, as just part of the bobble, and when they work back, they'll work back into that chain. You can do it whichever way you prefer, or if your pattern specifies, do it the way the pattern specifies, because you never know if there's a reason for it other than just personal preference. Okay, and then when I work back into the bobble, now look, there's that big loop that we counted as the top of the bobble before, but we're not going to count that as the top this time. We're going to go into this slip stitch, or I keep mixing up slip stitch and chain, into the chain. Okay, and then we're skipping that because that's part of the bobble, and we're going to go into the next couple of stitches here. Okay, so that gives us, I find, more of a centered look with that stitch. So that's my preference, but like I said, people do it different ways. And that is your basic 5 double crochet bobble. So now let's mess with it. Okay, so obviously the first thing you could do differently is you could do more or fewer double crochets. The more or fewer that you do, in fact, let's drop this down to 3, and you'll see it makes the bobble less puffy. Obviously it has more stitches in it, fewer stitches in it, it's going to change the puffiness of the bobble. This one is so flat I would probably even just call it a cluster and not a bobble, because it's just 3 double crochets. Okay, the more you put in, the puffier it's going to be. And the more you put in, the puffier it's going to be width-wise. So suppose I did 9. Oh, hang on. I am not paying attention. Here we go. Suppose I did, I'm trying to be fast and that's making me slow. Okay, there's my 3. Let's do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and all the way to 9. And it makes your hook kind of full, right? And then you pull through all of those stitches. Now look how puffy this bobble has become. Let me do a few more stitches around it. Okay, now that's a really puffy bobble. So you can get puffier or smaller bobbles based on how many stitches you put in them. And that makes it spread out to the side. You can also make the bobbles puffier from top to bottom by doing taller stitches. So let's see how that would work, because that opens up a whole bunch of different options. First of all, you could do a half double crochet bobble, but guess what a half double crochet bobble is? It's a puff stitch. So we'll look at that next week. But let's try taller bobbles, okay? So if I was to do treble crochets or quadruple or whatever, double trebles or triple trebles, okay? Let's do that. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 wraps, okay? So when you do this, you decide where you want to stop. I will tell you, if you stop right here, these other wraps become very hard to pull through. So like later when you're trying to pull through all of these, it's not that easy, right? So most people like to stop just before the last pull through of the stitch. So when you have one loop left from that plus the loop that was already on your hook, people will stop there. So let's do 3 of these. That was, what did I say I was doing? Was I doing 4? I think I was doing 4 yarn overs. Okay, so there's 1. Hi Millie, my dog just came over. 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if I close this, I get a very puffy bobble, but it is a very leggy bobble. And by that, what I mean is the stitches are very separated. Okay, so you can do really tall stitches, but the taller your stitches get, the more they're going to be separated, unless you don't finish each stitch quite as far. So if I was to do, let's just do trebles, or let's do double trebles for the sake of making it faster. There's a treble, there's a double treble, okay? If I was to do my double treble just part of the way, just the first one, and then do treble, double treble, do another one, and now I'm just pulling through the first one, right? That's a treble, that's a double treble. There we go. Okay, so now I've got all these loops on my hook. This is going to make a really cool bobble. They're just really hard to pull through. So you might have to do them slowly like this. You might even need your fingers to pull them over. But these extra wraps here are kind of hard to pull through, okay? But what this is going to do is the bobble won't be as tall because I've only done one pull through, but it's going to be fatter on top. So that's another cool thing you can do. It just adds to the puffiness on the top of the bobble because you've got all those extra yarn overs in there. Okay, so that's another way you can modify them. The other way you can modify them, I know there's lots of ways, is by changing the stitches you're doing in the row around them. The reason that that treble or double treble bobble I did was so tall and puffy was because I'm doing it on a base of double crochets. If I was doing it on a base of double trebles, it would have just been like flush with that, right? So if I do a regular double crochet bobble, but I do it on a base of single crochets, it becomes puffier. So if I do single crochets here, okay, and then I go into doing my bobble, and I'm just going to do that 5 double crochet bobble that we did before. 5, okay, and I close that, and then I go back to doing single crochets. Well, look what that does. That pulls the top of the bobble down to that single crochet level. And when you do that, it gets really puffy, okay? Because you're literally taking this tall bobble and squishing it. So that's a common way to make your bobbles puffier as well. But basically a bobble can be, the idea of the bobble is you make a bunch of stitches part of the way, you don't finish them all, and then you pull through all of the loops together when they're on your hook. And whatever stitches you use or however you pull through and close it, that all varies depending on the pattern, but that is the basic gist of a bobble. I'm trying to think if there's any other variations I could show you. Any questions about baubles, let me know. I'm trying to think, there's got to be other things I can show you. Baubles are fun. I don't want to show you the half double crochet bobble because I'm going to show you that next week, because that is actually a puff stitch. So I think that's about it. I don't think I have anything else to show you on baubles. I did that. Okay, so I think we are done for today. That's about all I had for you. This shirt, if you may recognize it, this is my Hyde Park tee, which just came out a little while ago. What else? That's all I got for you today, guys. It's a short one today. It was good to see all of you, and I hope I'll see you again not next week. Remember, not next week. I have to remember this. Next week, Thursday, is Thanksgiving. So have a good Thanksgiving, and I will see you in 2 weeks, which is actually the first Thursday in December. So have a great month. All right, I'll see you later.